You have a quote that says, every morning I wake up and look in the mirror and all I see is a lost African. And man, on one hand, it's there's humor in it, but there's an undercut of, there's like a crestfallen undercut to it. And it started to make me a little sad. And I was really kind of shook up by it doing the research for this interview, because it's such a powerful thing to visualize and say. And the stuff you were talking about, like I mentioned earlier, it plays out in these interesting ways. So I have a neighbor. I love my neighbor at my house. And on Saturdays during the summer, he'll wash his truck in the driveway. And he'll like have his music cranking, and it'll be some version of rock or country, and I'm pretty pleased with it. But if I were to go to the driveway and play hip hop really loud while I wash my car, I don't think it would be taken very well. And that is just a condition. That is just something that I'm used to. Like I would play something else. You know what I mean? Just to keep the peace. We're in a neighborhood. We're trying to have a society, as Seinfeld would say. We're trying to have a society. Let's just alter our behavior a little bit to make things, okay. Every day, even though I am biracial, every day I walk out in the world, and you might have this experience depending on where you live at the time. You mentioned it earlier. I was the only other black guy in the room at a party. So let's just gravitate, right? Like we're like going to be pulled together because of that very naturally. And it's not necessarily about race, but I'll explain that in a second. But here's the deal. That's every day for guys like me and you.
Yes.
Every day we are the black person in the room. Yep. And I have white friends that mention times that they're the only white person in the room, and it sends them running to the door.
Oh yeah.
So why are they insecure? Why aren't they comfortable? And then why can't they fully understand and empathize with the idea that maybe I'm a bit uncomfortable here. Maybe I'm a bit out of my element, and I'm so used to it I don't realize it anymore. And so, it's so much easier to make a mistake as the other in the room. And I think I wanted to just hear your thoughts on sort of why is the plight of the other so scary? I do feel like we look at the other and say, that's scary. And I don't want any part of it, versus embracing why they are the other and learning something about them. I'll give you an example that's outside of the black and white paradigm. Yeah. Andrew Yang is an awesome candidate, but will never be elected president because his last name is Yang. Why are we scared of Yang? Why are we scared of the other?
Because that would mean that it's just what you just said. We would have to have a seismic shift. We've never had a Jewish president.
Oh, really?
No. Kennedy was the first Irish Catholic president. When we were born, we were young boys, kids. A black president did not seem like it was on the to-do list.
Yeah.
I distinctly remember that as a young kid, where like, well, he can't be president. Yeah. That was like a joke. Yeah. That was a thing, that was a bit that Richard Pryor would do, where he would come out and pretend to be the president of the United States and make it funny, because it would never, people were just like, that would never happen. We've gotten close to a female president, but, some stuff went down. We might get there. It's also someone that could be from the LGBTQ community as well. For us to be able to deal with and face the other means that we have to change our paradigm and to jump outside of our race and jump into another one where I really saw it. Like, I've spent time in other places around the world. Yes. And I'm going to be, since we're shooting from the hip here, the most racist place I've ever been is India.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah. I mean, I'd never been on a whole country, continent, wherever. Everybody brown, everybody different shades of brown. You know what I mean? Everybody got a problem with everybody. I was like,
is it religion or is it race there?
I think it's race. I think it's just pure and simple race. The lighter people are better than the darker people. And I don't know whether that's a manifestation of, 400 years of colonial rule, the British. I don't know. Or was it inherent in their culture? I don't have any idea, but it's a joke. Yeah. It's silly. It's embarrassing for them. I mean, I was literally in India. Light-skinned Indians would get out of the elevator if I was in it. I was like, these people are crazy. These people are crazy. Because
it's funny, but not funny.
It's funny, but not funny. But if the cops come and we're in America, they're going to tell them Indians to get on the ground too. Mm-hmm. Like there is no, they don't get it. There's no special treatment. You don't get any more. I have never met a single Indian person in my life that is more advanced than me socially and economically and intellectually because they're Indian and I'm not.
Right.
It's not true.
Right.
They're in the same bucket. Yeah. But somehow some have gotten this idea that they're not. And of course, not all Indians are that way. And I have really great friends that are Indians and it's perfectly fine. And we talk about these issues all the time. But that was the first place I had ever been where I was like, wow.
Do you think it's anthropological at all where we want to tribe up and we want to be in our little village and that's where we find safety?
Oh, yeah. Sure. Yeah. I've been in rooms with Asians and the Chinese and the Japanese and the Koreans refer to themselves as fancy Asians. You know what they call the Thai, the Laotians, the Vietnamese, the Filipinos? You know what they call them?
What do they call them?
Jungle Asians.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
I was like, whoa, y'all crazy.
Yeah.
Y'all crazy.
That reminds me of growing up.
They go at it. And it's always the other. It's Catholics and Protestants in Ireland as well.
Yes.
It's Germans and French people still go at it. I have German friends who still make these nasty remarks about the French.
Yeah. Yeah.
And they're perfectly comfortable doing it. I got friends from Paraguay who hate Mexicans. That's crazy. I got Cuban friends who used to they would call me the white black guy.
I've been called that a few times.
You're Cuban. The only reason you're still standing on your feet in front of me is because you're Cuban.
Yeah.
That's it.
That's it. Right.
You know what I mean? Because again,
Jamaicans and Haitians.
Jamaicans and Haitians, Dominicans, it just goes on and on and on. I'm sure that, the people at the North Pole hate the people at the South Pole. I don't know. That's just how we roll. That is a part of our species. It's incredibly unsophisticated. It's incredibly antiquated, and it is completely unnecessary moving forward as a force of humanity. We all need to survive. We all need to come together. When we were walking out of caves, if everybody had been like, oh, well, I don't like person down the street. I don't like person in the cave around the corner. I'm not doing this like hunting and gathering village thing. I'm not building huts with these people. I'm going back to my cave.
Yeah. It's one of the most brilliant scenes in Django Unchained that I relate to.
Yeah.
There's a scene where Jamie Foxx and Django rides up on his horse, and the black people are looking at him like in awe. Some of them are in the field, and then the house Negroes are pissed that he's on that horse.
He's got a horse.
And it reminds me of growing up in the South, in the deep South, as a black guy. Every word or name that I learned would make somebody laugh, like when you're joking on somebody, cracking, burning on somebody. Mm-hmm. They were all like racist, like self-hate terms.
Oh,
where if you could make somebody feel like a field Negro and you were the Negro on the horse, then you would win that little battle. You would
win the argument.
But it was all really personal attacks up to a certain point, and words that you were definitely taught generationally from white people that were being racist.
Oh yeah. And then
which is
we're
crazy
to each other, and then the white man's in the background goes, "Yes, yes, my plan is working. They are destroying themselves."
Mr. Burns,
Mr. Burns, yes, Mr. Burns, Mr. Burns. It's Mr. Burns that's controlling all of this. Absolutely.
Yeah, you know, it's so unusual.
It's
you know, how we do that to ourselves.
We just tear each other down, tear each other down, tear each other down. It's not. Unless you can dunk a basketball, score a touchdown, or you can get on a stripper pole. Then all of a sudden you're okay.
Yeah, well, you're on a horse now. So even if you're on a pole.
Your horse. And the horse is the metaphor.
Yeah.
Without a doubt. And we could run down a list of things as brown people of what is the horse that you got to get on to be acceptable.
Yeah. Yeah.
One of the things that's not a horse is intellect.
You know, it's funny it's so funny that you bring that up. And before I move on, I will move on off this, but that is so true in this complex and sad way. When I grew up and where I grew up, the people I grew up around, they respected me for how many women I could bed, how good I was at sports, and how good I could fight. Mm-hmm. And then when I got around Nick, my business partner, Nick, and co-founder of Bonsai Creative at Vanderbilt University, and all his friends, which were for the most part Black, all of a sudden, none of those things mattered. They had no respect for me. Matter of fact, I was a knucklehead. I was like, I was considered a liability to them. Mm. And I quickly learned that what they respected was how quick was my wit, how good was my problem solving skills, and did I have any talent? So one of the ways that I showed I had talent was I'd been playing piano and had been in singing groups. So I had talents, I had potential, so I could hang. And then I tell you what, I learned more in 1 year hanging with those guys at Vanderbilt than I learned in 5-6 years of school before that.
Oh, absolutely. I'm going to take it one step further too and argue that since, you know, we're free to speak our minds in this podcast.
We are.
As men of color and distinction, there is very little we learn from white men.
Yeah.
In the system that we can take with us for the rest of our lives. I can have coffee with an old Black man and, you know, and walk away with something that he has said to me that has changed my life.
Yeah.
It's changed my perspective, you know, helped me to direct my compass. I rarely have any type of emotional, psychological, intellectual interaction with a Christian, cisgendered white male that resonates within me. It is like talking to a wall with a hole in it. You get nothing. You get nothing, you know? And I resent it because I watch them when they interact with each other and they give. They're not giving to the Black man. They have no interest. They don't even think they're obligated to. They don't even care. You know what they want to do? Hey, bro, you play football. Where do you go? Like, that's how they stuck to you all the time. They're not interested in anything outside. You know, got any weed? You know what girls are? You know, like, that's it.
There is a degree of, in certain circles. Now, this isn't universal in my world. In my world, there are some really cool. And you know, my business mentor was a gay white man.
There are many. There are many that are that, and then I do love them, and I do think that they're great. But I got to work a little harder sometimes to get to them.
Yes,
you know? I'd like to meet some of the ones that you know. That makes it easier for me.
I will do that,
and I do that.
But there's a part of you that is so honest and true and raw right there, because when people don't know who I am, and I'm in a place that there aren't a lot of people of distinction, as you put it, I do get there are people basically trying to put the math together on how I got there.
Always.
Oh, he plays sports. Oh, got it. That makes sense. So that's why he's there at this university, because
they have to, because they've got to put it back in the box.
They're trying to figure out how they ended up in the same room with me.
Absolutely.
You know how weird that is?
I mean, I wondered how I ended up in
That's
the same
unusual, right?
Yes, of course. That's how bad it is. That's how bad we're programmed. I saw you in a room and I'm like, what's he doing here? Why is he here? This is a whites only party. How did he get in? What's his deal? That's how sad it is. That's how sad it is.
They told me they only gave me the secret black code to get in.
I was the black guy in this party.